All right. Hey, folks. Good afternoon. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Arun Ulagaratchagan. I run all of Azure Data for Microsoft. Thank you so much for joining us. So we all recognize that in today's world, AI is rapidly changing everything around us. We as developers really care because every application is becoming an AI application today. However, it's incredibly important for the best AI models to have great data to work with. Because if you don't have really good data, if you put garbage in, you're going to most likely get garbage out. So it's become incredibly important for developers and customers to make sure that the data estate is ready for the transition to the era of AI, because we all recognize that the fuel for AI is really your data. However, getting your data estate ready for AI has not been easy. It's become more and more harder because of this, right? This is the 2024 Data and AI Landscape slide produced by Firstmark Capital, a VC firm in the Valley. But every tiny icon on the slide is a product or technology in the data and AI space. And this is the complexity that's confronting you today as developers. This is the complexity that's confronting our enterprise customers, because the burden is on you to figure out which products to use, which ones work together, and how to get to business value. That's why when we talk to customers, the message we consistently hear is this: please unify. I'm the chief information officer. I don't want to be the chief integration officer. Help me unleash AI on my data estate. And this is exactly what we're doing at Microsoft. If you look at Microsoft, we have the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform. And with the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform, we're giving you a comprehensive set of capabilities. Everything from great database capabilities to great analytics capabilities, AI capabilities, and governance. But not only do you get all of these capabilities from Microsoft, but even more importantly, you can lean on me and my team to make everything work together seamlessly for you so that you can focus on your business, moving your business forward versus systems integration. We also work very closely with industry-leading partners, companies like Snowflake, companies like MongoDB, Oracle, and Redis, so that you not only get great options from Microsoft, but you also have great managed offerings from our partners on Azure. So in this session, Shireesh and I are going to go much deeper on our database portfolio. Now, if you look at the demands on modern cloud-native databases, data is highly variable. The traffic patterns evolve globally, and demand is something that you can never predict precisely because things change all the time. Data is not just neatly structured in your tables, but data is unstructured. It's semi-structured. It's videos. It's voice. And it's something that you have to get really good at working with. And if you look at your AI models require access to real-time data. And this is exactly why in Microsoft we offer a comprehensive set of database applications, everything from relational, non-relational, open source, as well as caching solutions. Okay. Now, if you look at the Azure database portfolio, it is truly massive. We have hundreds of thousands of customers, including 97% of the Fortune 500. Right? Pretty much every customer out there is using one of the databases from our team. And if you look at our on-premises infrastructure with SQL Server, it's been a journey that we've been on for more than 2 decades. And over the last couple of years, we've been helping you bring those on-premises Azure SQL servers into the Azure infrastructure with Arc. And just in the last 12 months, the Arc footprint has more than doubled. As customers really want the Azure management experience against their on-premises SQL Server databases. Now, if you compare us against AWS, you will find very strong results. With Azure SQL Hyperscale, you get 68% better performance at high concurrency than Aurora. So it is you should try it. You should try these benchmarks for yourself. But this thing is radically faster. If you look at our MySQL database performance, it's 2.6 times faster than AWS RDS. So you as developers get truly industry-leading performance. So one of the things that I wanted to do was just show you how we think about a day in your life, a day in the life of a data developer. And after that, we will transition to Shireesh, who will talk to you about all the innovation that we're bringing together with Azure databases and show you some really exciting demos. So let's play the video.
Day in the life of data is like when data lives in the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform. It works around the clock to drive innovation. First stop, the Azure Database Ecosystem. Data is primed for its processing adventures ahead with flexible and secure options and hyperscale performance. Cyber attacks and stranger danger? Not in this database. AI-powered end-to-end security keeps data safe at large scale and high speeds. And built-in protection controls and flexible policies ensure responsible data handling and access at role level. So much to do, but where to start? Microsoft Fabric unifies and simplifies the data landscape, clearing the path to critical insights. By joining forces with machine learning and advanced analytics, data unlocks new information to drive decisions that solve problems fast. Up next, data delivers more value with AI in Azure. Microsoft Copilot is always by data's side. A quick chat helps data spark opportunities. Generative AI joins the party, working with data to whip up new experiences fast and responsibly, using advanced models like Azure OpenAI Service and Azure AI Speech. Azure AI Search jumps in to retrieve the most relevant data. Woo! Data's job just got easier. Thanks to Azure AI Studio, data has access to all of these AI services in a single, unified platform. And with Azure Kubernetes Service, new app features deploy quickly and scale with customer demand. With cutting-edge capabilities and end-to-end services, Azure helps data do more than ever before.
Thank you, Arun. Hello, everyone. I'm Shireesh Thota. I'm Corporate Vice President for Azure Databases. Super excited to be here. The rest of this session, I'm going to walk you through the journey of Azure Databases and how we are answering the call to get into the era of AI. In this era, the power to transform human interactions and to propel the businesses lies in the hands of organizations that can scale and learn super fast. And to make that easier, Microsoft is introducing a new era of cloud-scale databases. We're super excited to be talking about that, but before I talk you and walk you through the databases, I want to start off with the data management evolution. This has been going on for several decades. Let's take a look at how we have gone through this journey over the past several decades. Starting with, a long time back, we used to have data that used to be text-based, very clean, simple, but as organizations across the globe went more digital, new data types have sprung up. Businesses today have opportunity to capture and reason insights from all these data types, structured, semi-structured, videos, logs, sensors, etc. Data collection as a process has also improved significantly. Back then, we used to only have relational databases that used to operate on limited capacity and only on on-premises. But these days, databases across the board are operating in complex environments, hybrid, multi-cloud, edge, etc. We also have amazing automation that takes care of things like patching, takes care of tuning for your performance needs, and limitless scale that can capture and process various kinds of data. Even query has changed massively. The traditional approach that we continue to do today is to give exact parameters, and expect for those predictable, exact responses. That's great. It works really well. But we would typically ask for a query something like, give me a blue book that has greater than 50 pages, maybe of specific genre. You could now, with vector search, ask queries such as, give me a book that looks like this other book. That's a massive step, in addition to the classical query forms. And with the advent of new database paradigms, like NoSQL, we've gone from just processing structured relational data to basically processing the variety of volume, velocity of big data effectively. And to fuel the intelligence in our organizations, we certainly have to move from the old traditional way of just analyzing the historical data to relying on a unified cloud-scale platform that can bring together everything and lead you to the next generation of innovation. And of course, betting on Microsoft's cloud platform is a great start. We're building a robust, common, scalable platform that can help you by introducing any 1P and 3P database solutions. We have a simplified governance and gives you fast, actionable insights. Now, so far, I've walked you through the history of the data management in general in the industry. Now, I think the bigger question here is, what has Microsoft been doing so far in this space? Well, it turns out we've been leading innovation in the data space for a long time. We have touched organizations and industries of different sizes and scales massively. So to prove that, I want to take a quick trip in the memory lane and basically show what Microsoft has done so far. Let me take you all the way back to 1989. This is when Microsoft was a smallish company. It wasn't really as established as it is today. And they introduced a small product called Microsoft SQL Server. It was 1.0. This is 1989. Does anyone remember this logo? Okay, few of them. Not many of you remember this. I don't blame you. It's been a hot minute, right? We haven't stopped with that, of course. We've been iterating quite a bit. We have added a significant amount of innovation in SQL Server. We've added so much that perhaps we touch so many organizations across so many industries and truly transformed the very way that they have interacted with data. Continuing to iterate, we've released many versions, and in 2010, we brought the best of SQL Server into the cloud. Azure SQL today is the leading PaaS solution for relational databases across any clouds, across any offerings. It has AI-infused capabilities that can do performance and data management better than anything else. Fast forward a little bit, in 2015, I don't know if you know, Power BI was launched to harness the power of SQL Server analysis services to begin with. And we've launched 2015, the Power BI service. It continues to be a leading offering in BI space. Ask any analyst across many years. In fact, in 23, Gartner's Magic Quadrant in April for Analytics and Business Intelligence, we were ranked the highest in our ability to execute, the furthest in terms of completeness of vision. Accelerating our pace of innovation, SQL Server introduced its version on Linux. We've unblocked all our innovation beyond Windows and basically met our customers wherever they are. 2017 was also a great year because we made Azure Cosmos DB generally available, thereby bringing the power of our cloud to NoSQL with a solution that has the leading SLAs across latency, throughput, high availability, including up to 5 nines of guarantees. 2018 was special. We basically got started with open source offerings, starting with the managed version for MySQL, quickly started offering Postgres as well. If you've noticed, we are one of the biggest contributors to Postgres open source code base. We have committers and contributors. We have some of the most popular extensions out there. We'll talk about many of them in this session in a bit. In 2019, we've introduced Azure Arc. This was basically the time where we wanted to enable our organizations to extend their skills from on-premises into the cloud, even perhaps beyond Azure into multi-clouds as well. And last year, I think everything changed. We basically introduced Azure Open AI Services, and we've transformed the very way of building intelligent applications. Azure Open AI Services definitely earmarked new beginnings. And Microsoft Fabric was also a watershed moment in terms of how you think about analytics and data together. This is a holistic platform that enables you to bring data all the way from operational databases to anything to do with data science, data engineering, and all the way to creating amazing reporting with Power BI. This, of course, is possible without any glue code, so it's a complete holistic unified platform. So that's how our history is intertwined with the data management evolution. And so after having seen all this stuff, I think it's easier to consider Microsoft Cloud as the path to innovation. It's easier to see this because once you enter into our platform, you can start unlocking a lot of cloud savings. And once you're into our platform, you can depend on our unprecedented performances and amazing reliability at large scale. We have comprehensive code to security, so you can trust us with your applications and your data and really have this amazing journey all the way from migration to innovation and lay the foundations for your growth. But look, this has been the history. We can't really sit on our laurels here. Things have changed. Times are changing. AI is here. And databases need to really step up to answer the call of innovation through AI. For that, we truly believe that we have to introduce a new era of cloud-scale databases. So today, I'm going to walk you through that. It is exciting because we believe that in this era, all the managed databases in Azure will be pre-built, tuned for generative AI with hyperscale performances. All our databases are going to have Copilot assistants to boost your productivity. We will integrate deeply with Azure AI capabilities, including Azure Search, to make sure your application development is smoother. This is an era where all your investments and expertise from on-premises need to seamlessly migrate to the cloud. We'll make sure that happens. All of Azure Managed Databases are going to do a lot more on your behalf, and we will make sure they're modernized to enable you to grow seamlessly. Direct integration into analytics is super important because you want to accelerate better business decisions. So by harnessing all this power and integrating with Azure Managed Databases, your application developers need not have to keep doing the same old data management tasks and instead focus on what matters the most, which is application development and innovation. And finally, you can trust Microsoft's unprecedented cloud with the security, privacy, and sustainability guarantees, bring any of your 1P, 3P solutions, and really embark on a remarkable growth journey here. So these are the three pillars of our new cloud era: trusted, integrated, intelligent. I'm going to walk through each of these pillars one after the other, and let's see some awesome demos and announcements respective to each of these pillars. Let's start with intelligent. So whether you're building applications that are touching structured or semi-structured, doesn't matter, you can rely on Microsoft's unprecedented performance and limitless scale, so you get awesome real-time experiences. Azure has a wide variety of offerings, as you have seen already. We have relational, non-relational, including open source offerings to aid in the modern application development. Your developers can build intelligent applications, boost productivity. They don't have to spend a lot of time dealing with the usual things, such as tuning for scale, performance, size management, scale, performance, and tuning for things like backup restore, HA, and such. Instead, focus on really what matters the most, which is applications and innovation. The best thing, all of Azure Managed Databases are going to come built in with things such as vector search and RAG, and we will see a lot of those announcements today. It all starts with Copilots. Copilots are also going to come natively to all these databases. We believe that they're going to help you build better code to make sure that your applications work at dynamic scale. We're going to have built-in intelligence to boost productivity, make sure you have awesome automation to do data management as well. And all these things come together and make you believe that Azure Managed Databases are really the place to build any application of any type and size, including all the way up to petabytes, knowing that they can operate at max peak performance all the time, relying on all the awesome capabilities, and making sure that you really can set up for your growth. And that's sort of really how the intelligent pillar is designed here. Let's look at some of the announcements at this point. Excited to start with the Copilots. SQL databases are getting a real big refresh here with the Copilots. There are 2 Copilots that are going to come to SQL databases. It'll help your developers and administrators to make sure that they can manage, streamline all their SQL applications. Copilots in the chat window, there will be a chat window inside the context of your Azure Portal Blade. It understands the database that it's operating on, and it'll help you with the self-guided assistance. It'll enable management and troubleshooting for your developers on their own independently. This truly is a game changer. It is industry first. You should really go check it out. It's in public preview. The next one that I want to talk about is the natural language to T-SQL. You give us your natural language, we're going to convert it into T-SQL. You could interact with your SQL databases seamlessly without having to worry about the usual complexities of building the code. And we are not really just offering it for writing simpler queries. You could do complex ones like multi-table joins, pivot tables, CTEs, and so on and so forth. Really, really cool stuff. These both are in public preview for SQL. We're also adding Copilot capabilities for MySQL. See, public documentation can sometimes be super daunting. It is harder for all the application developers to go figure out what's there in the Microsoft Learn, what are the best practices, et cetera. With this Copilot, you could just chat with the documentation and troubleshoot some of the thorniest issues seamlessly. The next up here is vector search in Azure Cosmos DB for NoSQL APIs. I'm really thrilled about this one. This is, I think, Azure Cosmos DB before vector search and after vector search, I feel. We are introducing a state-of-the-art, powerful set of algorithms called DiskKNN to bring amazing vector search capabilities. What this does is that it basically allows you to ensure that your transactions and vector stuff are going to be there unified in the same engine, significantly reducing the complexity of building an operational app in Azure Cosmos DB. Thanks to DiskKNN, we have some amazing characteristics like really, really high recall, low latency. Best of it all, it operates at planet scale, like everything about Azure Cosmos DB. And to talk about it and to show more details about how this all comes together in action, I'm going to call on to stage Jasmine Greenaway, our Senior Cloud Advocate, to show it all through a demo here. Jasmine, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Shireesh. I'm guessing we are all here for databases, right? Who's a fan of NoSQL here? All right, well, do I have a demo for you? So, with Azure Cosmos DB, with its integration of Disk ANN, we're building the most scalable and flexible database. So let's go ahead and create a shopping assistant for an e-commerce website. We can do this for less than $2 using Azure Cosmos DB serverless. This is great for things like demos, low traffic, even multi-tenant apps. And when we're ready for scale, we can easily switch to provision throughput mode with auto scale. Now we can have our data and our vectors together. There's no need to move your data to a separate vector database. And next, we can store our data, and using Cosmos DB's change feed with an integrated Azure function trigger, we can write a script to generate vectors when any new data is updated or modified. This keeps our vectors fresh and up to date. And with the Cosmos DB Python SDK, we can quickly build a shopping assistant for e-retail platform. We can set up our configurations, vector policy, and Disk ANN index for efficient vector search. So here we're going to use the NoSQL vector distance function here. And what we're going to do here is actually order our results from most similar to least. And we're actually going to filter out the ones that are least similar. This is super fast. This is 25 milliseconds. And what we're seeing here is that the prices aren't as a little bit too expensive for our customers. And here we're looking for speed and accuracy. And so what we're going to do here is we're actually going to use our full range of NoSQL query filters from date times and numbers to text operations and even spatial data. So we're going to go ahead and give this a try, and we can see that our data is looking a lot better. And now we can do retrieval augmented generation. We can store our chat history for context relevance. And we can also use semantic cache to leverage our historical LLM responses. And this kind of saves us time and money because we don't have to continue to call our LLM. And finally, we're going to create a UI for our assistant using Gradio. We can deploy it later as an Azure web app. And when we're ready for production, we can transition to Cosmos DB throughput with auto scale. And unlike other vector databases, Cosmos DB will instantly scale with traffic and will only bill for what your application uses. We can also see that our accuracy is stable over lots of database operations. And with Disk ANN that being robust to inserts, modifications, and deletions, this makes this something that we don't have to be concerned about. And because with guaranteed low latency, at any scale, we can assure that our customers can stay engaged and that they don't click away. So now you can use Cosmos DB with Disk ANN to power your apps with vector search at incredible scale, speed, and accuracy. Thank you. Back to Shireesh.
Thank you, Jasmine. It's amazing to see how we are bringing all the vector indexing capabilities in conjunction with all the coolness that we've already built. You know, one of the cool things about building a vector index, or rather the harsh truths about building a vector database, is that 95% of building a vector database is about building a database. We believe in basically really pumping up all these capabilities inside the context of an operational database, and that's exactly what Jasmine showed. Super thrilled about this. This is in public preview. You should definitely consider it. Moving on a little bit, I want to talk about PostgreSQL. You know, ever since AI has expounded in 2023, PostgreSQL has been top of mind for many of the application developers. The reason is because the community has been hard at work here. They've already shipped the PG vector extension. They had a native vector type to store and retrieve embeddings and vector indexing efficiently. And we at Microsoft have been contributing to this world significantly. We are starting our announcements here today with in-database embeddings. This is in public preview. It's super cool. All it does is basically bring the Microsoft's open source models, in this particular case, E5 text small model, which is about embeddings, and it keeps it inside the engine. So if when you need embeddings, so that you could basically store them as vector types and retrieve them later, et cetera, to do vector search, you would have all these embeddings generated locally. They are getting executed locally without having to make a remote call. Now, thanks to that, amazing characteristics. A, the latency of generating these embeddings is in single-digit milliseconds. B, you'd get a predictable performance with a significantly high throughput. You're not at the mercy of some other external service, you're just generating locally. And finally, this basically lets you keep the data compliant because everything about generating the embeddings is within the database. So you can bring in some private confidential workloads seamlessly. So that is also in public preview today. The next up announcement here is about index recommendations in, again, Azure Database for PostgreSQL. We all know how important indexing is. It's of course essential for performance of your applications. But as time goes by, as your schema changes, as the cardinality of the data changes, the existing indexes that you may have may not be as performant. So what gives? It effectively really needs something that's constantly monitoring, and you typically do it with an administrator who's watching these workloads. What we have done with this announcement is effectively really monitoring your workload on your behalf, and we will figure out which indexes need to be created to make it faster. In some cases, which indexes need to be dropped, because as your data cardinality changes, your stats change, your schema changes, some of them may not be required anymore. So both creation and deletion. The best thing here is that it lets you know which queries are going to be impacted and even forecast the amount of performance that you would get once you take our recommendations. To show all this in action, I'm going to call on to stage Charles Feddersen, our product leader for PostgreSQL, to show how all these things come together in a great demo with Azure Database for PostgreSQL. Charles, please take it away.
Thank you. Indexes are incredibly important in building operational systems, right? We've all built databases before, and indexes, particularly when it comes to OLTP, are incredibly important. But it's also important not to over-index as well. You have too many indexes, you have situations where your DML operations, your inserts, updates, and deletes, etc., have excess overhead. At the same time, if you don't have the indexes you need, you can fall into a situation where you're getting too many scans, a lot of CPU utilization, and the application doesn't scale. So today I want to show you how the new automatic index tuning in Postgres enables you to solve this and automatically optimize your Postgres workloads at scale. So I've got a simple web app here. And on the left-hand side, you can see I've got a couple of predefined filters, one around the brand, one around the type as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go run a query here, and this is going to go filter on green equipment. And this comes back very interactively, exactly what we'd experience if anyone's ever used a search engine or search in any app. This is the interactive performance that people would expect. Now, I've got another situation here, though, where my index is a little off. And so in this situation, if I go reset back to my all, and then I go select footwear, what you're going to see down here is it takes a little while to load. And ultimately, it comes up. Now, this is not the experience that people would like. So let's dig in a little bit and see what's happening in the database. So here, you can see that I'm showing a high CPU utilization, right? And this is generally indicative of where I've got table scans, or if you're lucky, maybe partition scans on a partition table. But for a highly transactional operational system that's running thousands of queries per second, this simply won't scale, even on the largest machine that you can find. And so if we actually take a look at what we can do here, let me show you how the new automatic index tuning in Postgres can solve this. So here I am in the new interface in the portal where I can tune my indexes. It's a really simple experience. You can see here that the feature is enabled. I've opted into it for my production system, or it could be a test system. And it's checking and profiling my system on a frequency of every 1 hour. You can see it's also given me 5 recommendations. And so I'm going to go ahead here and click on this. And it's listed 5 index recommendations for me. Now, the notable thing here is that the top 2 recommendations are actually to remove indexes. It's found that given my current workload, perhaps I've changed the application, perhaps users are using my application differently, I now have redundant indexes that are simply overhead to my application and I don't need them. So it's recommending that I remove them. It's also showing that I've got 3 that I should create. And I can go ahead actually and click through these. And if I expand this one, you'll see this blade on the right. The blade on the right gives me some additional information. It tells me the database, the schema, and the table that this index applies to. Obviously, it gives me the script, so I can go and create that index myself. And it also gives me an impact assessment that shows an approximate 82% performance improvement. And the index is going to take around about 250 odd megabytes here. So all of these are considerations when we're thinking about whether or not we want to create the index. So this looks pretty good. I can actually go ahead now and copy this directly out of the editor. I'll go and put this into my favorite pSQL editor, which is typically pgadmin. And then I could go ahead and run that, and it's going to improve the performance of my workload. Now, we don't have time to actually recook that, so in the interest of time, I can show you what this looks like at the end. Here, you can see my CPU utilization has reduced to a healthy state. This is because we're getting all of those really performant index seeks that we like in an operational database system. And what you can see ultimately when we come back to the app is if I go back and filter on my footwear again, it now comes back instantaneously. What we've shown here today is actually really powerful. And although this is a simple example, when you think about the applications you run in production that are comprised of hundreds or thousands of tables, potentially code that's hard-coded into functions in the database, it could be inlined into an application, ORMs could be dynamically generating it. The automatic index tuning in Postgres looks at everything and profiles the totality of your application at any scale. It eliminates tens, if not hundreds of hours of traditional administrative work you need to do in a database. All you need to do is turn it on, let it profile, come back and check the results hours or maybe a couple of days later to get a really good sample size, and you're good to go. Thank you very much. Enjoy the conference. Back to you, Shireesh.
All right, so that kind of captures a lot of great stories across SQL, Cosmos, and PostgreSQL. We've announced Copilots in MySQL as well. Before I wrap up the intelligent pillar section, I want to bring your attention to a great customer case here. TomTom. TomTom is one of leading players in the navigational services. They've built an amazing solution using Azure Cosmos DB and AI services to ensure that the drivers in their cars, basically in the cars that use TomTom, can have a natural conversational copilot. They call it digital cockpit. It's an amazing in-car infotainment immersive system, and they brought it all together with the beauty of all the vector search and the intelligent capabilities that we have here. To learn more about them, I encourage you to go listen to them tomorrow at 2:15 p.m. BRK121. They also are there at the experts booth. They're going to show the product in live, so I highly encourage you to go watch that. So moving on to the next pillar, integrated. As part of the Microsoft's Intelligent Data Platform, I mentioned about Microsoft's Intelligent Data Platform, you have a wide variety of 1P, 3P database solutions here. You can deploy them wherever it makes sense for your business, on premises, our cloud, even other clouds, hybrid solution, doesn't matter, knowing fully well that they're all going to be integrated into Microsoft's cloud services. As a matter of fact, all of Azure Managed Databases are deeply integrated into Microsoft's cloud services here, enabling your application developers to avoid stitching point solutions, really accelerating fast time to market for your intelligent, your application that your business needs the most. And I mentioned Fabric. Last year, we've announced the GA of it, and basically, it really is the unified cloud scale analytics platform. It lets you access and ingest data continuously and seamlessly in real time into one lake of Fabric. This essentially accelerates the potential of your operational data to be analyzed and basically gather a lot of great insights. This also means that you're turbocharging your movement to a data-oriented culture, laying a foundation for your infrastructure and betting on growth technologies like AI. We encourage you to leverage our 1P, 3P solutions here and deploy them wherever you want in Microsoft's Intelligent Data Platform. As I mentioned, we have a wide variety of options here. We have Azure Managed Databases for MySQL, for PostgreSQL. These are some of the most performant, most reliable open source offerings in any cloud whatsoever. We also have API compatibilities with Mongo and Cassandra. We offer Oracle and Redis as well. Great news, with the integration with OpenAI services, Azure OpenAI services, you have pre-built, curated, world-class generative AI models right at your tip. And that's really the power of the entirety of integrating cloud services with Azure Managed Databases. A few announcements in this pillar here. We are making Azure AI extension in Azure Database for PostgreSQL generally available. We've announced this at public preview at Ignite. We got some really amazing usage already. You are adopting it. Most of you are probably playing with it. This is cool because it integrates with a wide array of Azure AI services. It has a simplified and consistent interface across things such as Azure OpenAI, Azure ML services, AI Translator, AI Language, and it gives you a rich experience to build generative AI applications on Postgres applications and workflows. If you aren't using it, this is a cool extension. You would definitely want to consider it. It's generally available today. And again, mirroring, we've shipped a public preview of that at FabCon for SQL Database. We're announcing massive refresh for that. We're also introducing support for managed instances in SQL as well. So if you haven't used mirroring yet, this is a great step in terms of bringing your operational databases into Fabric. And it's really important, if you're all modern application developers, you know the power of headless APIs. To make sure that that application development happens seamlessly, we are introducing Data API Builder. This is an open source cross-platform solution that you could run anywhere as a library, even other clouds if you need to, through Data API Builder. It provides seamless experience for you to go build REST APIs and GraphQL endpoints. It works across all managed databases, and it is generally available today. And to bring it all together, to show the power of Data API Builder and all the copilots and how it works on the existing goodness of SQL Database, I'm going to call on the stage 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀, our product leader for SQL Database, to show a great demo that puts all these things together. 𝗦𝗲𝗀.
Thank you, Shireesh. I'm going to, in the next few minutes, try to build the Hotel Concierge app using Azure SQL Database and Data API Builder. So let's do that. I'm already done with the front end, and this is looking great. Now, in terms of a developer, the front end is looking really sleek. So let's take my code to the next level. I want to actually take this code. This is a test code. As any developer, I have a bunch of test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4 here, and actually convert this into a stored procedure and a query that actually can be called using Data API Builder. First, as I'm starting off, so I can go to the natural language to SQL capability in Azure portal and just ask for a simple query, give me all the businesses that have 4 stars that are in my city. Within a few seconds, it will return the result to me. I can accept it and test it. I'm happy with the results. Now, I'm going to add the new vector capabilities that are available in private preview this week. As part of these capabilities, I'm going to add vector functions which can take the text data from the prompt and convert it into embeddings. These embeddings can be taken from Azure OpenAI and stored back into the SQL database for my future searches. This enhances my search using hybrid search, real, in addition to my city, 4 stars, any other predicates that you have in Azure SQL database. Now, I can also add the geospatial into it, right? So I want to really look for the location where I'm searching for the next best place. So I can add geospatial to the precise location I'm searching for and do that search. I'm really happy with the stored procedure. Now let's take this stored procedure and convert it into a REST API. It's very simple with Data API Builder. With one command called tab add, I can take the stored procedure, find businesses, convert it into a REST endpoint, provide some security, and within a few seconds, it will be enabled as a REST endpoint. Now let's really test it if it really works. So I'm going to change this test code to really use the REST endpoint I just created. And within a few seconds, I can just point to the new REST endpoint, find businesses. Let's test it. It's really hot here, so let's try to actually look for some ice cream. And as I search the ice cream, I can see in the logs that it really used the REST endpoint I created a few minutes ago. And it is really calling the REST endpoint. So it works. That's amazing. Now let's take this application to production. There we have Azure SQL Database Hyperscale. It is available today. It's been there for a very long time. You can actually use Azure SQL Hyperscale and set up for your application for success for future. Now, as I'm scaling, I see performance issues. I can go into Azure Copilot and then really with the SQL skills, ask for some missing indexes. And then in a few seconds, it will tell me a list of indexes that I can add to the application to make my application most robust and really scalable for the future. With Data API Builder, REST endpoints, vector functions, and Copilot assistance, my Hotel Concierge app, which is AI-infused, running on Azure SQL Hyperscale, is ready to handle guest requests, provide lightning-fast speed, and scale seamlessly. Back to you, Shireesh.
See, that right there is really the philosophy that we have here. We don't take pride in Azure databases being front and center of your application developers' top of mind. We want to make sure that we are behind the scenes supporting the needs of your application and let the application take the front stage. We're happy to do that. And that happens when the database becomes inherently autonomous, self-repairing, self-optimizing, and have a great application paradigm. As what 𝗲𝗲𝗀𝗀 showed is exactly that. And before I move on from the integrated pillars, a couple more announcements here. We're bringing in accelerated logs in database for MySQL. This has again been in preview for a while. Amazing performance. The 2.6x that Arun referred to earlier is possible because of this. Great latency at a very, very good cost efficiencies. So if you haven't used it, if you are a database for MySQL customer, you absolutely should use it. If you aren't using it, consider it, please. And then again, the final example here before we move to the last pillar is 𝗦𝗽𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫. 𝗦𝗽𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫𝗫 is an amazing story. They are a SaaS vendor, basically an anti-money laundering service here. Their customers are casinos, and they're looking for a solution that can really scale across the needs. They have a significant number of casinos as their customers, and not all casinos are in Vegas. So they basically need to really cater to wherever they are. So they wanted a solution that is basically geographically replicated because they need a very low latency. They need something that is secure and highly scalable. And then on top of it, they wanted all this operational database to be integrated into an analytics platform. So they've chosen Azure Cosmos DB, as well as a lot of analytical needs from the Fabric and beyond, even AI services, of course. And to learn more about them, please go to their talk tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. BRK167. You would learn quite a lot here in terms of building a modern SaaS stack. The last pillar, perhaps the most important one, applications absolutely must be secure. And today, it's easier than ever with Microsoft's unprecedented security built-in controls. We have features such as data masking. We have enterprise-grade encryption both in motion as well as at rest. We have proactive vulnerability assessments that not only alert but also remediate threats in real time. Threats are absolutely always coming. We can't avoid it. They're not in our control. Our job is to make sure they basically don't hurt your data in Azure databases. And all these key capabilities are built into Azure managed databases and come at no additional cost, zero. And that's really because we believe in providing a secure offerings in Azure managed databases by default. And you can develop your solutions leveraging the most comprehensive compliance cloud database vendor that ever exists. We have 100+ compliances certifications here. Azure all up, in fact, has most certifications than any other vendor, including ISO 27001, HIPAA, FedRAMP, SOC 1, SOC 2, many other international specifications. And that really kind of goes to prove how serious we are with security. And that kind of is the reason why you may want to take a bet on Azure as a cloud platform. Some of the announcements in this direction, MongoDB vCore has been GA, and I know there's been some really good attention and interest here. Thank you. We are announcing geo-replication capabilities. We'll have another replica in another region, thereby giving you regional resiliency to this awesome capability. We're also bringing Defender support. All our databases do have this. This is part of our advanced threat protection portfolio. Again, as I said, we want to make sure that we have proactive vulnerability assessments that remediates threats in real time. MySQL is getting the Defender support now. This is in generally available state as well. Finally, I want to touch upon Scandinavian Airlines, who basically embarked on a really bold journey to modernize all their cloud application platform. They were looking for a service that basically that scales well, sufficient, and most importantly, they needed a platform that is secure. They've chosen Azure. They've taken a big bet on SQL Database and SQL MI. And over the course of the last several months and years, they have transformed even 100+ of their applications already. To talk and to learn more about their use case, once again, Thursday, highly encourage you to attend BRK170 as well. So that kind of really captures all of our 3 pillars. We are intelligent, we are integrated into all our cloud services. Most importantly, we are trusted. So that's kind of put together the new era of cloud scale databases. And that's kind of really wraps it all up. On behalf of all of Microsoft and my team here, I want to thank you all. I really hope you, just like us, walk away excited about the future of Azure Managed Databases and how we can power your cloud-native applications. Here are some pointers to get started and skill up. There's still a lot of sessions here. I want to give myself a little plug here. On Thursday morning, I'm going to be talking a lot more about AI in databases. There's a lot of other cool Azure Databases topics here. I hope that you join many of them, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of this conference as well. Thank you so very much.